if you're a fan running in the background, that is because it's 90 degrees Fahrenheit or 32 centigrade here in the Netherlands. It's hot. And I don't mind that, but it does mean that I have to take it easy. And if there's one thing that I find quite chill, it's testing headphones. Bit specific, I know, but I know you guys like it as well, because I always get really good responses to my headphone videos, for some reason. Apparently I managed to convey the sound quality and characteristics of headphones very well to you guys over spoken word, which is all I can give you, because I don't have one of those fancy things to let you hear them, and even then you'd be hearing them through your own speakers or headphones, and it would only work if you could compare loads of them. Now, some years ago, I was reading a lot about the AudioTechnica ATH-M50x. They're sort of, gotta be careful, this doesn't touch the microphone. They're sort of a studio standard these days. And I bought a pair cheaply, and they're good. They're comfortable, they're reliable, there's nothing bad to report, easy to drive to, but they are very bulky. I have a big head, and even on my head they look quite big. So I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna buy myself a pair of the M30s. And they're a bit smaller, they have this folding thing going on that I don't really like. And I love them, actually. They're even easier to drive, at least when it comes to the sound level coming from portable devices. And I actually prefer the way they sound. They don't have the extended low end, they don't have the transparency of the M50x's, but compared to these, the M50s really lack some definition in the mids. And I heard some other M50s, it's not just mine. The M30 is actually my preferred pair of headphones between those two. Are they better objectively? Not sure, but I prefer them to the M50s. And then at some point someone told me, I think it was actually on YouTube, you should try the M40s, they're better than both of them. Well, here they are. That's the M40s. And this person was completely right. This pair is objectively and subjectively, if that's a thing, better than the M50s. Less comfortable because they're a bit smaller and a bit tighter, and the cushions are a bit harder, but I really like the way these sound. So I figured, since I have this trio here anyway, I may as well do a comparison. Now, for reference, I have my beloved Sony MDR7506s. These are probably the worst sounding of the bunch, but they're also the most reliable of the bunch when it comes to being true to what the sound is going to be like. If I remaster something on these, and I don't like remastering on headphones, it's a bit tricky, it sounds good on almost every speaker and on every other pair of headphones. I've tried remastering on the others, it doesn't work. That's going to be a video too. I'm going to do a bit of a remastering session on different headphones and speakers, so you can hear how big the differences are. But yeah, this is going to be our reference, and this is the one that many people know. So that's why I'm using this one. Also, I took tracks that are pretty easy to find. Usually I pick some obscure stuff because I'm a bit of an obscure hipster. But I've got Dreams by Fleetwood Mac Q'd, I've got Jeremiah by Sierra Pharrell Q'd, and I've got Six Blade Knife by Dire Straits Q'd. So I'm going to listen to them one by one through all headphones and tell you what I find. Let's start with the Sony and Jeremiah. Well, I ain't hearing anything. Oh, I plugged in... I didn't plug in the headphones, they actually are on my head. That doesn't help. Okay, the curly wire is a bit on the way. Take two. So the first thing that stands out is that they have really nice mid-range. It's super open and honest, but not aggressive or anything. The highs, you can tell, are quite rolled off. There's not a lot above 14K. And the lows, they are not the deepest, but they are very controlled and very musical sounding. It sounds like a proper stand-up bass, because it probably is. Let's see. Her southern twang is rather twangy through these headphones. They do tend to sound a bit nasal, but not in an annoying way. It just allows you to hear the shortcomings of the voice really easily. The shortcomings of the voice recording. Her voice is great. So that's not ideal for recording like this one, because it has a bit of a nasal character to it. But if you want to, fix it, these are great. So I know what's missing because I know these. If I didn't know that, I would probably not notice. So let's go and compare. Let's unplug the Sonys and let's go to the M30, which I gave brown cushions because I could, which is also easy because the M40 looks exactly the same. And here goes Jeremiah again. Immediately there's more transparency on the top of the guitar. You can hear the strings really well. There's also slight hollowness to the sound that the Sony didn't have. Usually, that's a pretty normal thing for affordable headphones, because these are only, I think, 70 bucks. Really good for 70 bucks though. Let's listen. So the vocals don't have the nasal sound as much. These don't reveal that. They are a bit on the hollow side, but they're also more, like the plosive, the P's and the T's and such are more pronounced, not in an annoying way, they're just there. And there's a bit more almost pronunciation to everything, which is nice. Low end again, bit hollow. You get used to that, I know, when you wear these for a longer time, but they do tend to be a little on the hollow side. The lowest low end doesn't go as deep. The Sonys seem to go slightly deeper, but these have a more musical sound to them. It's more danceable, if you know what I mean. These are just more pleasant sounding headphones than the Sonys, but they're also a bit lacking in transparency and like the lowest lows. There's a word for that. The extension, the bass extension is not all there. Let's compare with the M50s now. That may be unlogical, but I already know I like the M40s best. So let's do the M50s and see what we find after that. Oh, also a curly wire. Yeah. Yeah, I know already. So the highs are way more transparent than the M30s and the Sonys. The highs are really good on this one, actually. But there's a bit of a gap in the middle. The guitar has a ringiness in the middle region that is just not there. And it's what a guitar has. It's the resonance of the case. And it's not there at all. And then the low end has a depth to it that the M30 does not have. But then it doesn't have the realism of the standard bass. It doesn't have the typical boom, 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 boom. It's sort of just the bass without the resonances of the case of the standard bass, which is weird because these are way more expensive and they should be more realistic sounding, but they don't. Let's listen to the vocals. They're actually quite harsh. They're sharpish, and they lack the lower bass tones that come from the chest of the singer. She doesn't have a lot of that. She has quite a high voice, but they are lacking, which makes her voice sound quite irritating in a way. It's a bit like this, and she doesn't sound like that. Well, she does a bit, but not like that. That's actually really disappointing because those are the ones that are supposed to be, you know, the good ones. I indeed like them least of the three so far. And here comes the M40. It's really the M40, I had to check, but yes, they have the black cushions. And let's see what I find. Yep, the mid-range of the guitar is back. The highs have all the transparency of the ATH-M50 with none of the sharpness. Let's check the low end a bit more because I haven't really paid attention to that. The low end is much like the M30, so it doesn't go very deep, but it has all of the definition and there's no hollowness like the M30 has, and that makes this a much nicer pair of headphones to listen to. Let's check the voice. So there's none of the sharpness of the M50, there's none of the nasalness of the M30, and it's actually a really nice sounding voice that comes from these. Almost too sweet, to be honest, because her voice is a bit harsh and a bit raspy. This one almost makes it too sweet, which is not realistic, but very pleasant to listen to. I'm just going to go back to the Sonys once more, because I know they are the most realistic, the most honest sounding of the bunch. And let's see what I find now going back to them. I love the way the Sony does the bass. The standard bass is easily best in the Sony. The vocals are indeed quite nasal, and I mean, I have so much respect for this thing. It's such a reliable reference, but it has some shortcomings when it comes to pleasant listening. These are the ones I use most though. And my AirPods. Let's go to the next song. Let's do Dreams by Fleetwood Mac. So this song is not very bright sounding, which does help with these headphones because you don't miss a lot here. The bass, again, is beautiful, really quite extended, more than I expected from these, but also very musical sounding. You can hear the strings do their work, you can hear the bass speaker do its work from the bass guitar. And it's just as I think a bass guitar sounds, a clean bass guitar sounds. You all know the intro, right? Boom, doo, doom. It's a very good way to check bass on headphones actually, because it can easily get hollow or boomy. It doesn't at all. I do feel like the top end of the drums is missing a bit. I feel like there should be a bit more transparency to the snare. Let's see further down the song with the vocals as well. Nice wide stereo imaging on this one, in this song. I usually don't listen to this kind of Fleetwood Mac. I usually only listen to the earlier one, the Peter Green Fleetwood Mac. But this is a beautiful recording. It has that typical Neve sound to it. I think this was also recorded in, I'm pretty sure this was recorded in Sound City, right? There's a looseness to the bass that I really like with this recording. And I love that it's not harsh, especially in that era. Sound started becoming harsher and harsher into the 80s. This is, I think, 1977. I should know my classics, but I'm not sure. It's a really pleasant recording. So honestly, maybe a bit too forgiving, but let's see what the M30 makes of it. Oh yeah, you can really hear that the bass extension is a bit lacking. Stereo imaging is good though. That slide guitar potentially coming from the left-ish, comes from really far away. That's actually nice. Quite impressive. The voice doesn't have the same energy that the Sony had. It's a bit tired. Let's go to the crescendo. These are great headphones. Honestly, I'm still baffled how good they are for like $70 or $80. The M30s. Really nice and dynamic. I'm surprised, by the way, they're all at the same level. I didn't have to adjust the level. They're all pretty easy to drive. And I really liked how the song opens up, and it also opened up in the space in the headphone. It became really broad, much more even than the Sony. So I thought the Sony was good at that, but the recording is just great. This one was even wider. I'm honestly curious what the M50 is going to do here, because I wouldn't be surprised if this is its moment to shine. And let me not get everything tangled. This is also why I use AirBuds, Apple AirPods, that's what they're called. I recently got the AirPods 4, they're really good. I shouldn't say that, but they really are. And Bluetooth has its shortcomings, but it sort of manages to navigate around them. It's just so nice to not have wires. And also with this weather, it's kind of nice to not have a full set of headphones on. Okay, let's see what Dreams does through the ATH-M50x. The mid-range is so lacking, her voice is so far away, and it comes from somewhere back there. There's like no presence at all. The bass does go a bit deeper, but also lacks all of the oomph and energy of the M30 and the Sony actually. It's just a very boring sounding pair of headphones. They're not bad, don't get me wrong, they are still worth the price of admission, which is like $175. People buy way more expensive headphones that are way worse, but compared to the others, I don't get these. I'm gonna sell them, obviously. I was waiting to do this video so I can sell them, to be honest. I'm just gonna keep the 40s and the Sonys. I already know that, spoilers. Let's see what the crescendo does. See if I can find it again in one go. That was quite impressive last time. No. Oh, it all sounds very Alan Parsons all of a sudden, very thin and very, very harsh. Also a bit like, you know, Breakfast in America or School by Supertramp, that kind of harshness. No, really not great. Okay, here come the M40s, if I can put them on. I don't like this folding business, it gets in the way. Here we go. My favorites, what do you say? The drums came from the left now. That's the first time I heard that. They go... That's good. There's a bit of a dry sound to it. The other one is a bit more bass heavy. The other two actually. The other three actually. But then again, you can hear every detail in the bass. Her voice sounds great. You can hear every little rasp and rattle in her voice. I hear things in her voice that I couldn't hear on any of the others. There's the guitar. Drop out in the tape. Okay. Okay, it's interesting. These have a very smooth delivery and almost too smooth. There's more energy in the song on the other headphones, but this is such a pleasant long listen. These won't fatigue at all. And you hear everything without any of the aggression or on any of the overly presence of certain, you know, headphones. They may be a bit boring for this song because the song is already quite calm sounding. They could be a bit on the boring side, but if you don't just listen to this album, these are going to be the kind of headphones that you can wear forever and they just won't fatigue you. Let's go to something a bit bass heavier with Dire Straits 6-blade knife, and it also has some interesting sibilance in it, so let's see how they deal with that. Usually I take more varied recordings, but again I wanted to have stuff that you could easily find. And in case you haven't heard of Sierra Farrell, she was a tiny little singer until recently, and now she's winning Grammys. But I'm not gonna lie, I preferred her pre-Grammy album. Oh, I haven't mentioned it, but I'm sure you saw it. I'm using a Musical Fidelity X-Scan headphone preamp. And I'm actually using some high-resolution audio files captured from vinyl. Doesn't really matter, it's just a comparison, but it's what I use. Okay. Again, super realistic bass drum. Like, it's literally like I'm close with my ear close to a bass drum, but at a lower level, otherwise it would ruin my ears. And someone's playing it very carefully, which is probably how this song was played. Sounds so realistic. His voice, a bit thin sounding. I expected a bit more actually. The stereo imaging is interesting because his voice is dead in the middle, and there's all of the other stuff coming from the left and the right, which is well done. There's not much depth to it. It all comes from here, here, and here. Nothing from there or there. Could be the song, but we've already seen that the other headphones are a bit better at stereo imaging, so let's see about that. Well done, Sony. Let's go to the M30s. So what I found so far is that I think the 30 is closer to the 40 than they are both to the 50. The 30 is really good. I thought the 40 would be, I thought the step would be bigger. Okay, let's check the voice. Yeah, okay. More bass to his voice, more body to his voice. Whoa. Okay, let's check the crescendo. Okay. There's a certain harshness to the snare that is not in the Sony, that I don't think was actually in the snare, but it's not bothering. It adds a bit of energy. The low end is not nearly as realistic as the Sony's, but the voice is much better. Which again, the Sony is honest, so probably this is making it sound a bit better than the recording actually is supposed to be. But I like the voice on this one. It's really open, but also really full. It's nice. It's a pleasant sounding voice. I'm worried about the M50s now. God, they're harsh. Sorry, my wire pulled back. That is really sharp. It should be a mid to high range tick, but it's now it's really, really aggressive. The voice is pretty good. The voice has more body than I expected from this one, because that's usually what lacks, but apparently it's in a low enough frequency. It's better with male vocals. Okay, let's check the crescendo again. Nah. There's a bass line going do 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 do. And that bass line is just literally going do 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 do. It's not I don't hear the plucking. I don't hear anything that tells me it's a real instrument. These are just not great compared to the others. Again, compared to the others. Okay, well, my favorite, the M40, which is still my favorite, but I must say, the M30 gets closer than I remember. It's honestly impressive. The M40 I think is like 109, the M30 is like 79 I think, I'm not completely sure. I'll put the prices up, the current prices up on the screen. I'll put some links in the description as well where you can buy them if you want to. And you should want to. I bought all three, so you didn't have to. You should buy at least one. 6-blade knife through the ATH-M40x. Ah, ooh. Ooh, that's very good. It's got all the transparency in the highest that the 50 had, but without the harshness. It's got the drive in the low end that the Sony had, but a little less over the top. Okay, there's like in the recording, and it went like this. That's the first time it sort of exited the headphones. Okay, let's check the voice. Again, it has all of the upsides of the 50 in the transparency without any of the downsides, and all of the upsides of the 30 in the mid-range without any of the downsides. The plucking of that guitar, that little guitar solo there is very attacky. I like it. It's supposed to be. That's how he plays. Yeah, good. Okay, crescendo. The bass drum and the toms are also, I think it's a floor tom at some point, going ticka ticka, poof, really convincing. This is one of those things that's hard to describe or to measure. Certain headphones or certain speakers or certain setups, things that are made of wood sound like wood, things that are made of metal sound like metal, things that are made of whatever, paper, if they hit like something ceramic, sound like that. This one does that best. It's by far the most organic sounding of the bunch. It does sweeten the deal a bit though, because it is a bit kind to your ears. It could be a bit more aggressive, a bit more energetic without it losing any of its sound quality. But again, that makes that you can listen to these forever and ever and ever. ATH-M40x, the one that no one buys, because everyone buys the 20 because it's cheapest, the 30 because it's second cheapest, or the 50 because it's the most expensive. No one ever buys the second expensive one, and usually that's not the one to get. That's usually the overpriced one, but in this series, the 40 is the one to have. So it's a pretty easy deal for me. I'll keep the 40s for my studio and for random listening. I'll keep my Sonys for remastering if I can't use speakers, because of course I also have my Tannoys that do a better job, let's be honest. And I will get back to you with a video to show you how much you can ruin a remaster if you use the wrong kind of monitor, whether it's headphones or speakers. So yeah, I would not use these for mastering. It will not work. Please stick to the Sonys. But that should be a fun experiment. In the meantime, ATH-M30, 40, 50x, just grab the 40. It's honestly no competition, and the price is right. I got all of these secondhand, by the way. I think I paid $30 for this one, so I'm good. Wish you all a good day and see you in a couple of weeks.